Welcome, beautiful souls, to the 43rd episode of the Perfectly Imperfect Spiritual Podcast. I am Marta, your host, a psychic medium, spiritual teacher, and guide for those of you wanting to live more connected, soul-led lives. If you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to step into their next level of spiritual growth and purpose. Today's guest is someone whose energy is absolutely magnetic, whose presence radiates confidence and vision, and whose work bridges worlds we sometimes think are completely separate. My guest is Christel Rosenkilde Christensen, known as the New World Oracle, and a global expert in conscious leadership and energy mastery. She bridges the worlds of high performance, deep spirit, and visionary transformation. She's a trained medium featured in the book The Mystifying Mediumship by Carrie Alderuccio, and she has spent the past 18 years guiding elite leaders, creatives, and change makers across 30 plus countries. Her background combines international business, elite sports psychology, and spiritual science, including an academic foundation in global strategy and high performance leadership. She's the author of The Treasure: How to Change the World on Energistic Leadership as an Agent for Visionary Change, creator of the Treasure Change the World Tour, and host of the New World Oracle show, The Magic of Elite Consciousness on the New Reality TV. She helps visionaries lead what's next through energetic precision, soul alignment, and deep transformation of the individual, their teams and companies. Otherwise, you can find her at New World Oracle. I know the website, the shop is under construction, but you can still download her book, meditation, and you can find her on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Christel Rosenkilde Christensen. Christel, welcome to the podcast. I am so delighted to have you here today.
Oh, thank you very much, Marta, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to talk to you. Yes.
I'm very excited as well because, as anyone knows, or maybe you don't know, this is completely unscripted, spirit-led conversation, and together with Cristel and our spirit team, we are co-creating it. So we're definitely bringing a component of magic to that experience as well. So let's all enjoy it. Well, I would love, if you're okay with that, Cristel, to start maybe with one of your personal experiences, maybe that shape the work you do. I'm curious, how did your journey as a medium or spiritual guide unfold? And was there a moment or maybe an experience, or was this a gradual path that led you to recognize your gifts and eventually like bring them into the work you're doing today?
Oh, well, I think I'm the opposite of many whose stories start by slowly finding out their path. I came to this world as a child knowing who I was energetically, and I remember in kindergarten many children who played with me remembers that I was making us all levitating. Whether it was the childhood play and our memory stays with that, or whether this is what actually happened, we were 3 4, but we've been discussing these memories as adults. And for me, pointing up to the stars, sharing that that we came from there, and there are extraordinary powers to draw upon. And I put that into our games as children to harness the energies of the universe. And I remember dreaming when my grandfather died, waking up my mom saying, "Grandfather just came to say goodbye." So the spiritual realm was always very much with me. Seeing, sensing, seeing who needed healing, just went sitting next to people naturally as a child. Growing up, I had many different friendship circles. Looking back at it, obviously, I did not like conflict and talking behind people's back. So when the friendship groups I was sitting with, if they were out of balance and started talking bad, if I couldn't shift it, I just naturally navigated further and went to speak to my friends in the musician group or with my
Mm-hmm.
theater friends. So I just naturally flowed towards harmony. If I couldn't create harmony, I floated to the next realm of more harmonious groups. Then I started studying, and studying became a beautiful game for me. I loved absorbing knowledge. For me, I went into negotiation, international negotiation. I always loved languages. I always loved to travel. So it was natural for me. And even though it was hardcore business administration and math and finance and economics, everything just seemed so natural for me. And I didn't realize how I tapped in with the universal wisdom. And while I was reading and studying, that everything came together because of how I always blended with energies. So it was not just my brain capacity, but it was actually, some people probably call it the Akashic records. I just call it the universal wisdom that is with us all once we tap into that field. So studying became such a beautiful journey for me, and I kept adding on an extra bachelor in international business, an extra master in international management, an extra MBA electives in ethics, sustainability, global entrepreneurship. And it was not conscious. It was more like me following up a destined path that I had not consciously decided to walk upon. So until I stopped studying, I would say, until I finished my master's, I did not realize the beautiful path I've been in, slowly blending into this world that most people find natural. To me, it's pretty harsh to when I look on to the conflicts and all the negative stuff in the world. At that time, I have not embraced the darkness that, we hold the light and the darkness. Like, I love the name of your podcast because we're perfectly imperfect. So at that time I had not embraced that. So when I was 26 and already sitting in a global leadership group, having gotten my first job in the international business world, I sat there, and that is my key moment, I believe. I sat looking around the table and thought, wow, are they all mean? Are they selfish? I had such a weird feeling of everybody just going for their own agenda and not caring that we were exhausting people that was working for us. I looked at how everything was put together, and getting to know them, working with them, I suddenly realized they are the best hearted people working so hard to do the best they could, but they didn't see what I saw. They didn't see the
Mm.
human suffering. They didn't see the long-term possibilities. They didn't see the answers that always comes to me when I'm faced with somebody's challenges. So for me, I've
Mm.
always been seeing answers coming together. And I think sitting at that executive table, having gotten to know the people that I was sitting with, understanding that what I first thought were people creating suffering, it's good-hearted people doing the best they can under the pressure they were on, how they were schooled.
Mm.
The world is constructed of how the industrial age was built to use and harness resources instead of co-creating and creating from a point where everybody is lifted. That's the new world energy. That's where we're moving into now. And that's why we also see so many amazing people rise in all kind of fields, no matter who we are: school teachers, factory workers, CEOs, schools. Everyone is, well, not everybody, but many people are waking up and connecting and understanding there's something greater than ourselves that we can harness and tap into. And we can actually, everything we build can actually come from a place of the word you also use, co-creation. instead of destroying something to create something new. So that it doesn't have to be destruction and greed to
Mm-hmm.
us. We can actually lift each other up while we are creating. We don't have to exhaust our resources. So, well, that was a long answer. Anyway, so that executive meeting where I've gotten to know people, felt their hearts, and understanding that my world that I was born with and took into this world was not natural to every single person. And
Mm-hmm.
my understanding of my own powers moment, and then I build upon them, and then I have a long journey more to share. But it was a big beautiful awakening for me to understand that most people does not wish to inflict suffering on other people, and they're not greedy and they're not harsh. They just come from a point of suffering and old world thinking. So
Mm-hmm.
Marta, you and I and everybody else's path now to awaken as many people as possible and assist them in that path.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, thank you. I'm curious, like, could you take us through another story if you agree? Like or maybe share the moments when you've started sharing your wisdom and what you've been seeing behind the naked eye with the executives, because surely uh, it took some time for people to get used to an idea that we can, well, what I call co-create with the universe, and what you're beautifully coining as being able even like to use the wisdom knowledge downloads um, from the universe. I'm just curious how you've managed to, well, the word convince, like convince executives, those beautiful people who were trained in an old school way of thinking, to embrace or maybe see what you could see. Because I think that's incredible. And the other thing that comes to my mind, that like we think sometimes as light workers that everyone sees that things are obvious, and
Yes.
then it's not.
No,
Oh yeah.
it's not. I think what has helped me to help other people on that journey, because was that I was so young when I, or coming to this earth, I did not realize that I was different. So sitting in that executive meeting, I still didn't understand how different I was. I've never doubted myself one single second, and I had the privilege of being backed up by a loving grandmother and a family and friends. Like, I've always been encouraged in believing in myself. So I would like to say that's the first thing that helped me, was that I self-doubt only came with age. So
Mm-hmm.
my self-doubt actually only started when I became a mother in a very late age. Not before then did I start to question myself,
Mm-hmm.
question, am I good enough? Am I doing good enough? Am I doing what it truly takes? But that was more a personal journey. So self-doubt, if I could ask anybody to try and silence the self-doubt at least once in a while, that was the first thing. I did not have that much self-doubt.
Mm.
Because I was so certain of spirit. I heard it, I saw it, I sensed it. In my cellular level, I sense the energies of the world and the universe. There's never a doubt. It's something that I
Mm.
cannot silence. So that was with me. But experience is that I've been granted a privilege that when I am with my clients, I'm always getting not only insights and wisdom for them, I also get experiences for them. So when I sat in that executive role a couple of years later, many things happened. I'm not going to make this a long story, but things from my personal life popped up and made me stop and think, did my international journey truly matter? My brother had detected a heart failure. So at that time, I lived in 5 different countries for studies. I had worked, my base at that time was in Shanghai. I had teams in 45 countries. So I traveled the world extensively. But in that moment, all where I wanted to be was with family. So I quit my job. The very day I quit my job, a Chinese colleague was with me in a taxi going to see a client, and he said, Cristel, we see you as our guardian angel. No matter where you
Mm.
are in the world, you always sense us. You always sense when we need your help. Why are you not out there in the world changing the world instead of being here? He did not know I had quit my job at that time. At the same time, I had meditated since I was 11 every day. At the same time, the next day, I was in a meditation and I was hearing, now you have to show the world what you see through science. So I went back home, was close to my family. We found out my brother's heart failure was an abnormality and not something that was dangerous. But it took me home. Then I meditated and I started having the concept through auto writing, energistic leadership that I patented and pioneered, where I studied neuroscience, quantum physics, energy work of all sorts, put it into a concept that was understandable for people in boards, in leadership, in performance, also sports people, everything. So the studies into that to make it so apparent that energy is real, and that when
Mm.
we think a thought, energy travels, and energy doesn't know distance. Not to go into particle physics here, but energy doesn't know distance. So what we think here instantly impacts somebody wherever they are, whether we're sitting here talking and thinking about somebody in Japan, or whether it's a loved one. What we think impacts. So energy travels. So working with that concept and talking quantum physics made it apparent for leaders. It gave me an anchor to be allowed to talk about what I talk about.
Mm.
Then in individual sessions, but also group sessions, sometimes I'm being shown to tell them, okay, now you all think a certain thought. Now we're going to change the temperature in the room with the energy that I'm facilitating. So then they feel an immense and instant energy temperature change. So they sit there in their suits and being a bit
Mhm.
skeptical, but then the temperature changes
Mhm.
in the room so quick that it couldn't be a radiator. So they're looking for the windows, nothing is open. And then I say, but we can also heat up the room again so you don't think it's just a window open. And then we change the temperature again in the room. So then they have that experience. So they have science, they have an experience. And in individual sessions, sometimes I also have spirit contact. My first business way of applying it, I remember it so clearly, and she's been okay with me sharing it. She's going to be in my television show sharing her story. But my first time doing an executive coaching with a woman who came to me for energy mastery and strategy work for her business, she suddenly, there was a 12-year-old spirit running around in the room, and I couldn't tell her. I was so afraid. I was thinking, what would she think about me? That I was very young. So I thought, what
Mm.
would she think about me? Would she think I'm crazy? Would I lose my integrity as this business coach that they were bringing in? And then so I didn't say anything. And the next time she came, this 12-year-old boy started running around again, and he started screaming. Oh, it was terrible. So then again, I thought, I can't share this with her. This is terrifying.
Mhm.
But then I did anyways. And I said to her very gently, I said, I'm intuitive, I talk about energy, but it also means that there are other realms that we can be in touch with. And would you have lost somebody very near to you, 12 years old, who would very much like to be in touch with you? And she started crying. She
Mm.
lost her son to cancer. And I said to her, please know that this boy is well, but would you understand a screaming? And then information came to me, not before I allowed myself to speak truth.
Mm.
Then the information came, and I know everybody who is in the spiritual realm, you will understand how we just get the information once we are transmitting it and communicating it with care and love and sincerity. So then the information started coming. He's sharing that under his chemo, he was every time he had a chemo treatment, his body would respond with extreme frustration. So he would scream and scratch and be, not because he was hurting so much in that sense, but that was his childlike reaction to chemotherapy. And
Mm-hmm.
would be the only one who could comfort him. And she was crying. She was like, yes, I was the only one who would he would allow close to me.
Oh.
And the fact that you're saying this, I know it could be nobody else but my son. And it kept coming to her like how loved he felt, how safe he felt. And his screaming was not because he was suffering as much as the screams came out. It was a boy not able to communicate the discomfort that was inside of him and the fear he saw in other people's eyes. He said, I was not that afraid. I was so afraid of what other people were afraid of around me. So, mommy, you made me safe. You made me feel loved. You made me feel calm.
Mm.
You gave me the courage to just be me and be love. So she was healed from that, and we talked a lot about it, and they had several communications through me over the years. And this is of course a very personal thing, not everybody gets this, but it's just sharing that it could be temperature shifts, it could be a spirit communication with a loved one, and sometimes it would simply just be me tuning into their businesses. Once it was a pharmaceutical executive with a global company. He was very skeptical. He only took me in
Mm-hmm.
as a trial because his best friend had said, you have to try this. So I was
Mm-hmm.
with him. And then I said to him, tuned into the strategy. And I saw an imagery of a picture of India. And we were in Denmark. And I said, I'm seeing you have 3 production plants in India. The third plant, the south in India, the entry you would have, there would be a doorway to the right. There was a staircase coming up to, I don't remember now, 2nd floor, I believe. You go into the right, you follow down in the end of the pathway. And by the end, there's a person responsible for the entire India strategy. He has a red painting behind him. He's suffering severely because of personal issues with his family. If you want to make sure that you deliver your India strategy the next 3 years, you have to give him support. You have to have somebody there on the floor helping
Mm-hmm.
him, not firing him, not changing him, helping him. Because when
Mm.
he's seen, when he get time off, when he is the best chosen for the job. That was both, you could not change the scenery of where he's sitting. You cannot change that picture. And when he spoke to him, that was reality. And the same
Mm.
with, then I saw a picture of Vietnam. I saw not the supplier for the factory, but a sub-supplier that was giving them material for their medicine. I just saw that you keep trying to make new strategies for your production plans, and you see the quality is failing. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem is not in your own factories. The problem is with the sub-supplier in Vietnam.
Mm.
Once you train them, once you help them find the best way to get the best material to you, your issues are changed. So
Mm.
it's very factual. And I'm just grasping for different examples that is giving to me from my work. There is tons and millions of it. I've been working with this for almost 20 years now. But I hope it makes sense. Otherwise, please just question, because I'm just telling you what it is. I
Mm-hmm.
hope I'm giving you some very clear, trying to give you clear examples of how people not only get convinced, but instantly feel it themselves. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm always saying to them, I'm not offering the magic. You are the magic. People I help, they're the magic. I just illuminate things that they might not see. Or the woman with the son, she is now in touch with her own son, because now she trusts that she feels him. She trusts when the music shifts, that's him shifting the music to tell her, I love you, mom, I'm here. So to me, I believe that one of my biggest missions in life is to show people that the magic is within them, that they hold the magic, they hold the key, that they are capable of accessing the same things that I'm providing for them. I'm just opening portals. And then for some, I'm training them excessively. Sometimes it's teams and the entire global organization that I'm training their way of feeling, sensing energy, creating strategies where they're sensed and they're in tune with the
Mm-hmm.
destined path. Sometimes it's individual, I'm asking them to feel. And sometimes I have spiritual visionaries who I assist opening up even more, or seeing things, how they can build their businesses, or how they can soothe themselves in grief, or whatever it may be. So it's essential for me to say that it's not only the big things that I'm working with. Sometimes it's the little thing that makes the big magic, and that we should
Mm-hmm.
never feel embarrassed as individuals to ever have an issue that we can't solve ourselves, because we're human beings. We're meant to help. You said again, co-creation is my magical word. I love it. It's when we help each other, things get easy. I've been the victim of myself. I had a personal crisis where I thought I had to solve it myself because I've solved it for so many people. I
Mm-hmm.
almost lost everything. I was brought to my knees in when I broke up with the father of my child. I thought I thought I was capable, and I thought I had to be capable because I've helped so many people, also in divorces, to find a good path forward, to be
Mm-hmm.
friends and to co-parent. And I thought that I was a failure because I could not create that. But I had people coming that was willing on both sides. I was the help, so I didn't get the help. So I almost broke myself from thinking that I was supposed to do it all, know it all, and help myself. And so if that's one advice I can give, because I lived through it, is that never be embarrassed about having a struggle. Never think you have to know it all or have to do it, because none of us are meant to deal with anything alone. That's not the human
Mm-hmm.
existence. That's not what we're here for. That's why we're here together. That's why we are unity on planet Earth. So that was my long answer to what you were saying. But
No, I love it. And I have two different questions that are comments. And it's so beautiful when you've given those tangible examples of how you, let's say, convince some of the executives, but also how you've allowed them to tap into their own magic. It's beautiful. And also, I love that fact that sometimes it's that one tiny detail, or like really tapping into your own empathy and looking after another person, that really is able to create that ripple effect in the whole organization. And I think that's so powerful, because if you are going to use stereotypical thinking, you would assume that in the leadership, like, there is no space for feelings, emotions, energy. So um, yeah, I know how powerful your work is, and the fact that you're bringing so much healing to those people, and that essentially it's all about helping each other, and those people who are able then to see, okay, I'm going to help my employers there, and then it creates a ripple effect, and then they see it, and then they start doing it, and those people then help each other. And then it brings me back to what you're sharing about your own story. Well, I'm divorced as well, and I just like hit the rock bottom as well. And just before we connected and we hit the record button, I pulled some angel cards, and one of the cards that I had was brotherhood, sisterhood. And
no.
I'm like, okay, now it makes sense that actually, as well, like in the past, I used to be an independent woman. I'm still one. But now, for some years, I've acknowledged that it's okay to ask for help. It is okay to receive help. And I'm talking both about, of course, we've got the spirit world, but also the tangible people. It's okay to not know everything. And I truly believe if we speak with our spirit team, like imagine we have no close friends or we feel like there's no one who could help us, like setting that intention, like, please bring me the right people who could help. I think it can create magic as well. So that's a human experience. So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing.
Yeah. Get all teary
Mm,
with it because I'm feeling not only you sharing yours and me sharing mine, but I just sense humanity, how we are schooled and structured to believe that we have to be tough, we have to make it ourselves. It's when people did it on their own, they're like, well done. And I'm like, but we're here together. And I came here and I didn't feel alone because I've been in touch with the entire universe, and I easily made friends, I easily made connections, and and I easily, like, everything has been organically grown for my business, that it was word of mouth around the planet. It was before I used social media, it was before COVID, it was just this organic thing reaching out into the world. And yet when I came to a life crisis, that I could be brought to my knees, suddenly feel that I was all alone, that there was nothing I could do. There was, I did not at one single point think that I had, that I had a global network. And I just saw friends joining in and helping me. And I just felt the business people that I opened up to help me again. And it's just this thing of, it's such a vulnerable place when we hit a life crisis, no matter whether it is grief or divorce or it could be anything, basically. It's such a vulnerable place because we have been taught to be strong. We've been taught to be almost like a silo, a box person. And the thing is, we live in this beautiful grid of connectedness, not only with the universe, not only with everything that we can harness and be in touch with, and be healed by and be empowered by, but we are 8 billion people now on this planet. How can we move forward in year 2025 and still teach children that we are separate? And,
mm,
to me, that's one thing. If I could change one thing, like I've said, self-doubt, but if I could also change the way of speaking to children, the way we lead our countries and the world, that we truly we have to stop thinking that we're separate. And world leadership at the moment are not showing the way. We have to show
mhm,
now, and we have to trust the power. It's such a big word to say, but we have to trust the power of the people. And by trusting the power of the people and the masses, we can only move forward if we trust that we are part of people. We are part of the masses. We need to understand how much we matter. If one of us degrades ourselves into thinking I don't matter, then the people lessen, the masses' power lessen. Each and one of us, I hope everybody who listens to this and everybody else that I speak to in the world, may we all be reminded, may I remind myself, because I forgot when I was in my personal crisis. We matter more than we know. And even when we are in life crisis, our grief or our struggle matters, because when we share it, other people don't feel alone in their struggle and crisis. They may not have hit it yet, but no person on this planet is exempt from coming into some sort of life crisis. I'm not saying my kind of life crisis. We are destined for different kind of crisis because we are all wired differently from maybe past lives, from our DNA. We can measure DNA now, that we can, I know it's further back, but science can measure trauma 17 generations back in our DNA. So we all carry something from the past too. So there's so much to heal, but there's also so much power and potential to unlock. And that is what I find interesting, but we can only unlock it if we share, because it's in the sharing we learn. And if I share my story, somebody may not have been there yet, but if they get into my situation, they don't have to have a life crisis. They may have listened to my struggle and know, hey, she said, never do it alone. Reach out, be open. I have the courage to open up. And then that won't be as bad as mine was. Or maybe it is, but then she keeps thinking, or he keeps thinking, she survived it, so will I. So we have to understand that it's whatever we are one entity that are, and each and one of us are living different versions of the reality. But the different versions, when they all come together, that's the one. That's where we can either expand that soul collective by being human and vulnerable, and again, your title of your show, Perfectly Imperfect. It's such a relevant title, and I love it that's where you share your gifts from, because you're magnificent. And being magnificent and beautiful and strong and powerful, and having that title, that allows us to be human while we are powerful, being vulnerable. And I've always said, funnily enough, even before my life crisis, that vulnerability and strength is two sides of the same coin. Just forgot that in the middle of it, but that's what it is, and that's where we meet each other, and that's where we find each other, and that's where we suddenly understand to open our hearts and be met, because we can't be met if we don't open up and we don't allow people to see us and feel us and hear us.
I've just got a flashback from my experience, well, life experience. I think we always do get it, or anyone who gets visions like me anyway. But as you were speaking, like, I want to talk about, like, it's the motherhood that cracked me open. Becoming a mother, like, that's so much healing to my soul. And I literally, when you were talking about those 7 generations, because I remember, well, I did heal lots of wounds from from my mother's side and father's side during shamanic journeying, but also I remember clearly how every time I would doubt myself, and there were years ago moments when I would not use my voice, I would literally feel the presence of my ancestors having my back, and I knew that I earned that space, and the universe put me in the places because my ancestors allowed that. But also some of them didn't use their voice or couldn't, and by me healing myself, I was helping them to heal. But then I had that deep knowing that whatever, I know we say, oh, we do it for our children, but this wasn't like a martyr feeling. It was like, it came from the source of like empowerment. Like, I could feel, because I was doing my PhD. I started my full-time PhD a day before my son was born. I planned it. I was like, I'm not just going to be in nappies. Like, I'll do PhD, and then like I'll bring up my children. Then I can multitask. But I remember one of the professors telling Marta, if you want to pass that PhD, you have to ask questions. And I didn't know how to ask questions. There were people there. I would be going into fight and flight mode because I was preconditioned as a woman, as a girl, to be quiet. And I would go into panic mode. I had actually no idea. Almost I was not processing what the papers were on. And then I remember, okay, I'm doing it for my children. I'm doing it for my children. And then something got like removed and healed. And I was able to like process the wisdom, and I was able to speak. And of course it was challenging, especially when I had to like teach some of the first year students, and I would be going through my own insecurities of being a foreigner, like the English not being my mother tongue, studying at a very traditional university, and having my own triggers where there were so many people who like couldn't even care about the education. They just wanted to score their like points, and I'm like, that's existential. That's like, yeah, so lots of healing, but it's the motherhood that like opened me up. And then I realized what you're doing, like whatever we are doing, like at an individual basis, we do it for the future generations, not only our children, but also for the generations
Yeah.
that
Yes.
walked here. Just wanted to
And
share that.
and I think motherhood carries, now we're women, obviously, so fatherhood also have a lot of things, but now we're here as women. And I think even fathers listening to this, so people that are not parents, I think you'll still understand if you've been mentoring people or just having the responsibility for somebody's future. It carries the need and potential for healing, no matter what kind of responsibility we have for other people. And I think once we truly understand that responsibility, and as a parent, we've just been pushed to have that responsibility. In leadership, we have to take that responsibility. But no matter what, the realization of having that responsibility changes us. And for me, when I had my daughter, the first thing that was when the water broke, I knew she was not ready to get out. And I told them in hospital, I said, I don't think she's ready to come out. And the water broke, and one day went, second day went. And the doctors kept saying, we have to, have to move forward the birth. And I said, but I just don't think she's angled right in my belly. And you would think that they would be able to feel that and sense that. And then this doctor comes in and she looks me in the eye and she said, you need to understand, by not allowing us to take your baby out, you are maybe killing your own child. And not just your own, but your partner's child. And when she said that, it was kind of like I discarded all my emotional or intuitive wisdom. I literally just pushed it out to the side. Literally just that moment just pushed my own power away. And I said, well, then let's push forward the birth. So they gave me a drop of some medicine so that I would deliver the baby, which didn't happen. She just went into distress. So 4 days later, I had an acute C-section, and she was in the wrong place and definitely not ready to get out yet. And everybody kept saying to me, now you have a baby, you can't live the way you used to. So I traveled the world. I let my intuition guide me. I never lived like other people. Like if you look at my daytime, how I'm in flow with who I am and the way I'm with people, they kept saying, you can't live your life the way you did with a baby now. And father kept saying, we have to do what the doctors say. So having been so strong and having lived my wisdom, the fact that I had responsibility for this little child allowed me for a certain period of time to only listen to authorities from outside of myself, the human authority, old world wisdom. And I think that was a part of my awakening, or the start of my life crisis, was that then I suddenly stopped asking for help as well, because it was the help that I looked onto was the old way, which I obviously did not match with. So I also stopped listening. But at the same time, there was something from the inside that wanted to break that cycle. Because every time I was breastfeeding, so I'm sharing this I hope it's okay, people can hear that word, but every time I was breastfeeding, I would be seeing thousands of years back how women were tortured with their babies and the children. Like how the babies would be taken away from them, how babies would be put in war zones in earlier days. Also the witch hunts. What would they do to these babies in front of the witch? It was terrifying, but I decided not to see the terror in it, but I decided to heal and send love and hold these women. And having to do that while I was breastfeeding and sitting with my baby, it should have been scary, but it was not. And I think it was the only way it could break me from the inside to heal my
Mm.
motherhood that was that I had allowed to be trapped in outside
Mm.
authorities, if that makes sense. Because we have to understand, we allow in some way something to make us the victim, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Part of our path, obviously. We can't change that, has to happen. But by healing these women in those terrible situations, it also helped me understand that I was trapped. And then I had to use my spiritual discernment for how was I trapped? Well, I was trapped in the understanding that I had to listen to outside authorities. So I had to break through that veil before I was once free. And it's only been, she's 7 now, it's only been a year, almost a year ago, since I truly broke through. And
Mhm.
if we look at the world right now, what is the world doing? If we look at, I'm not going to talk too much politics, but there are a Western country that now start to tear away women's right, that now start tearing away
Mhm.
who we love's rights. There are some powers and influences in this world that is going against evolution, that's going against human rights, women rights, everything that we stand, everything that we should be free and feel. And I broke free from that in that very moment when it's needed the most, that we break free of this. And it's not just women, it's men, women, other sexes, however they identify. It's time that we break through the old world authority to be able to live in harmony, create harmony, and leave a legacy for future generation and hear what has been going on inside of ourselves, but most certainly also in the world and in the universe. So it's such a crucial moment in time that we speak together, Marta. You've had yours, I've had mine, and I'm sure people listening to this will understand that by understanding how much we matter as individuals, we need to allow ourselves to break free now. And I see it with all the clients that are coming to me now. It's visionaries, it is individual ambitious individuals with a consciousness ready to create like live their destined path, to break free and to create whatever type of business they are creating something that is a co-creation, that is uplifting, that is truly doing something good for humanity or life. And that's powerful. I will stop myself because I can get into such a tangent talking about where we can go and how we can live, and what a beautiful world we have, and what we can live once we set ourselves free, set each other free. Yeah.
I would love for you to talk about that a little bit because, well, first of all, I hope anyone who's watching it or listening will understand that by us like healing ourselves, then we can like break free and then we can create that ripple effect for, well, our communities and then for the world. And I've got so many well, similar examples, then different as well. And I had a very traumatic, I'm not going to go into details, medicalized birth, induced birth with my son. I gave my power away. And I knew I wanted to have another child, and I was petrified. And I decided to heal. I hired a doula. I read my rights, and I didn't agree for anyone to like check or do any medical procedures. I was so much in my power, and that healed me because I was able to give birth the way it felt naturally, keeping everyone away. Well, that popped into my mind, but literally a couple of days ago, I had a conversation with a friend. I'm able to share like my unpopular views, and I was like, I cannot imagine. Like, I can't believe people are celebrating Independence Days. Like, in whatever, I'm here based in Scotland. Like, my friend, like, she used to live in the US. She now lives in another country. Well, I'm in Poland, but like, no matter what independence, I'm like, how can you celebrate it if there's no freedom of speech, freedom of movement, so many people suffering? And I'm to watch excuse my language, stupid fireworks. And like those money could be used to like feed homeless, to help people who, I went through domestic abuse, and I'm like, this is such a waste. I understand the importance of spending time with the family. I understand creating happy memories, but I'm like, this is so reduced. And like, I've been tapping into my sacred rage, and we've been healing with my friends. I'm like, oh, so we might be talking even today about that. But yes, could you talk? Well, first of all, do you think the conscious leadership will become the norm? What can you see in the future? Like, what's your vision for this new world that you have?
Mm. I have a vision of a world where we probably have to see political structure crumble or change rapidly, because I see more that moral and value and ethics start to become, and I'm not saying this will happen now, where moral ethics, protecting and nurturing all life, not just human life, but life itself and the planet of the universe. We can't send nuclear waste into the universe and think it comes unpunished. Like it is. I envision whether it's more global council that will then be local councils, where we will have an override of what's ethical, what's morally. And here I'm not talking about whether it is moral who to love and not to love. It's about, it's immoral to try and judge who people love. It is immoral to think we can take away women's rights. It's immoral not to do something when we see people suffering. We need it. So this council is not like a religious standpoint in what's moral answer to what religion. That's not what I'm talking about. It's councils where we are literally protecting life, where we are protecting humans, and where we understand that we have so many human resources to fix every problem if we wanted to. We have more than enough resources financially on this planet for nobody to go hungry ever, and those who have abundantly still have abundantly. we have a world of enough. And now I'm talking about what we already have. Now I'm not talking about my vision. I'm actually talking about the fact that we have more than enough already to live in harmony, and for all life to be protected, nurtured, and uplifted, to be not all of us living in the standard. I don't want to take away from those who have built and mastered to build. I don't want to take away the riches from the rich and give to the poor, so the rich has nothing and the poor get wealthy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that we allowing those who are willing to create and then have dynasties and then know how to create, because they create jobs, they create abundance, they create. I love it that they can do that. But we have so much resources, so much money, so much wisdom, so much knowledge already, that the rich can keep their riches and the poor can get on poor and get to a comfortable, nice living. Nobody has to suffer with what we already have. So my vision is that in some decades from now, we will have a different kind of political structure, where we don't talk about whether we are black or white, or we don't talk about whether we are left or right, but we talk about whether we are in tune with human values, with life itself. Because we have become so distant from how magical life creation is. We have become so distant from, when I see my child, she had her fingers cut open on a playing field and went to the doctor. He glued it together, and the way it looked, I was devastated. I thought those fingers are never going to be normal. When we took off the bandage 2 weeks later, they're beautiful, beautifully shaped fingers. She was healed. It was beautiful. It was all fine. When I look at the healing process, when I when I got pregnant and I realized that life creation going on, when we know as women that we get repaired when we are pregnant, if we have anything that could go against life creation, we would heal.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at my going back to that meeting in the boardroom where I realized that all of them were good-hearted people, each of them suffering their own traumas, each of them doing the best they could, but just had been conditioned by me studying and going into the work field. I jumped my job. I came from my studies, and because of how good I was to see problem solving, I was offered a job that I should have had 20 years experience to go into. And I was sitting
Mm-hmm.
in that executive board meeting room at 26. So I had not been, two things. I had not learned how to do so. So I should not have been there. I should have had experience to be allowed to be in that executive room. But I had the privilege of not having been destroyed by 20 years conditioning how to do it. So best practice was not part of my thought process.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where we're at now. If we keep allowing best practice from how it was, we're going to keep destroying ourselves, and we're going to keep destroying our planet. We're going to keep keeping each other down, not because we have bad hearts, but just because we keep going on best practice. We need to have some quantum leaps, because when doctors at hospital learned to wash their hands, suddenly we survived miraculously from so washing our hands was a quantum leap in hospitals before we went into surgery. How simple is that? So imagine if we could quantum leap going into schools and saying your thoughts matter, who you are matter, how you choose, how you think, choose, and act matter more than you know. You hold magic with your thoughts. You hold magic with when you have an intuition saying that's not the right thing to do. Don't shut up. Go say it. Go do it. Like you did second time around with even your birth story, Marta. Keep your hands up my belly. And don't get me wrong, when things turn wrong and we need an acute cesarean, we need an acute cesarean. When we have cancer, some cancer forms, when we are ill from cancer, then we some people and most people need help from chemotherapy, whatever there is. I'm not rejecting medicine. I'm waiting for the quantum shift in how we medicate each other, I'm waiting for that. I have many stories there too, because we know that we are destroying ourselves. We know we are killing healthy cells. So it's like washing our hands. We need another thing in chemo. We need a different storytelling in how we give birth and how we feel ourselves. It's going to be a long other conversation here, Marta. I know we agree on many things there. But we need to understand that we hold the magic. And if we go into schools, if we go into businesses, if each and one of us, everybody listening right now, whoever we are, wherever we go, if we train ourselves to think, ooh, that thought, I need to share it. Will they think I'm crazy? Yeah, probably. But when they hear it from my mouth and they hear it from somebody else's mouth, people need to hear a message 5 times from 5 different directions before it starts to become true. So whether we're going to be the first one they hear it from, the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, that's only our ego preventing us. I want to be the 5th one because I want to be the one they truly trust. God, I want them to say, wow, Cristel, that's amazing. It's right what you're saying. I would love that from my ego point of view. But from when I was born till this day, I'll keep saying it, whether I'm going to be the first one they hear it from or whether I'm going to be the 5th one. So if every one of us could just allow ourselves to just speak our truth, because when we speak truth, things can unfold afterwards. I can get, even with my business clients or sports, elite practitioners in sports, when I talk to them, I say one thing, but I'm not the expert in what they're doing. So when I speak my truth, they reflect what who they are and what they know, what their gifts are.
Mm-hmm.
So when I speak to them next time, my truth, sharing with their reflections, them testing it, coming back to me, then we're refining it. New truth is coming, then their truth is coming, then they're combining it, then they're testing it, then they're going out there. So by maybe the sixth session, when we work together, there is an entirely new truth because it's a co-creation. So, so when I just put a video out, one of my athletes, he shared that he was stagnant in number 10 in the world. And then he learned about me, and then I helped him. He became number 2 in the world, almost 1 in the world. I went on maternity. He stopped. It seems so obvious, like Cristel came with solution. No, I did not. I came with parts of the truth. And then we
Mm-hmm.
worked together. We refined it together. We got him there together with all the other people around him too, and his exercise, his discipline, everything. But me sharing one truth, him bring it into his energy field, is brought out to his physiotherapist, his coach, his girlfriend, everybody around him. So his team changed by energetic truth telling that blended with him and everybody else. So everybody got into a more magical state to bring him to where he was meant to be. And all of us got more. We expanded in our wisdom at the same time. And then
Mm-hmm.
the ripple to people being around me, they felt it. People being around him felt it. Him on television sharing his victories.
Mm-hmm.
So millions around the world felt it. So the truth sharing, blending, and expanding by co-creating it, that's where the magic lies. So if we all just remember that following our truth, sharing our truth, thoughts, choices, and actions changes everything, even though we might have to be the pioneers, the first one they hear it from. And the more we connect, the more we listen to shows like yours, the more we hear different kinds of sharing and we share, the more we get comfortable in our own skin, being different or being pioneers or being visionaries and daring. And yes, you out there who don't feel like a visionary, you are, just by listening to intuition and share it. Visionaries and pioneers, they don't have to be the ones in the storybooks. They can be people changing things in the supermarket line or in their teaching at school or in the way they speak in the lunch breaks. Being visionary and pioneer doesn't mean that we have to be in the history books. It's just about shifting the reality, tuning into something bigger than ourselves, blending with it and daring to share it, share our stories, also share what's not blended, because we learn from that too. So the sharing
Mm-hmm.
is so crucial. I'm just grateful to be sharing right now with a visionary like yourself, Marta.
Thank you. No, I'm enjoying our conversation. And I was actually to ask you about, I always love to ask about one simple practice or a couple of practices that people could try, especially when they're feeling stuck, burnt out, or disconnected. But you might have answered. But well, I'll still ask, like maybe for anyone who maybe got overwhelmed, like, oh, speaking my truth, that's too much. Like, is there something like more? Is there something simpler, more simple that people could do on a day-to-day basis when they're feeling stuck, burnt out, or disconnected from their purpose? What could they try today to shift towards, well, whether more conscious leadership for anyone who's a leader or energetic alignment for their personal
Mhm.
reasons?
Well, first of all, they probably have to listen to all of your podcasts, Marta. They'll get a lot of knowledge. But the the most simple and basic thing that everybody can use, but I see the more disciplined people are. So I see the big results when I have, an executive or a politician or a sports person, because when they just shift a margin, they might get that world championship, or they may earn 25 billion in a year because of something they shifted. But what can shift our reality? It sounds bizarre. It's so simple, as I say. Nobody can see if we're 30 seconds late from eating because the timer hadn't shifted yet. 30 seconds of deep breathing where we are committed to connect to the highest, most divine energy in the universe. Breathing in, so breathing for 30 seconds. And allowing that energy to be breathing in the highest form of life, energy from the universe. Breathe it in. Hold your breath and breathe out. Be with that divine energy, whatever your faith is. I'm not going to interfere with anybody's faith here. But breathing in the highest form of life creation, the most divine energy in the universe and within ourselves, just breathing it in, integrating in every cell in our bodies. Breathe out all the energy that prevents us from being the very best of who we can be. Breathe in the divine energy and breathe out all the energy that prevents us from being the highest version of ourselves. Feeling that we are allowing ourselves to put a sacred ring around us. And breathing in divine energy for just 30 seconds, that's all. It is 5 breaths, 3 steps. Having the intention, breathe in divine, the highest form of life, the most divine energy of the universe. Whatever your religion is, you hold that with you. I'm not going to put that on you. And then use your breathing to breathe in, receive divine energy, and breathe out energies preventing you from being the best version of yourself. And the third step, visualizing, use your imagination to put a sacred ring around you that will nurture you, that will protect you, that will stand with you. Just 3 steps in all. Now I'm sharing a lot about it, but use 30 seconds. Put a timer on the first time. 30 seconds. Doing that 1 time every day, doing that 3 times every day, being overwhelmed by work, go to the toilet for 30 seconds and do this approach before going into a negotiation, before having an argument. In an argument, say, I just need to go to the restroom. I'll be right back. Hold it there. Go and do this for 30 seconds. Everything will shift. You're not asking for answers. You're not demanding that things around you are going to change. You are going to put yourself into a divine setting where you're blending with the divine, where you're letting go of what prevents you from being the best version of yourself, and then putting that sacred ring around you that will nurture you, that will protect you, that will be with you. It's going to change everything. And the more we practice it, it doesn't have to be 30 seconds. Then it's just a thought. Then it's on the tennis court. Then it's in a negotiation. Then it's in an argument. Then it's getting up in the morning. Then the baby is screaming and we haven't had enough sleep. We can breathe it. So we have to practice it. We have to, even when we're doing good, we have to practice every single day. It's the discipline when we're also doing good that will help us in situations when we suddenly need it the most. I'm grateful beyond anything that I meditated since the age of 11. I'm grateful beyond words for the amazing people I met, the amazing places I've been on this journey. Because when things were hardest, that was what I connected to, because I couldn't meditate when I was feeling the most drained. So I remembered the energies from when I was meditating. So I was breathing and I was asking, may I please connect to the energies from when I was meditating? And the same now, it just comes to me. So I'm just going to share it. It's the same thing, that once we practice with discipline these practices, they can be there with us in an instant. And last year I lost in theory, I lost the 3 closest people to me, except for my daughter and my mother. And I had the closest actually still with me, but 2 of my best friends and my grandmother, I lost them in 1 year to cancer. And the amazing thing is, when I was grieving and when I'm grieving, I'm just a person. I grieve too. People think that spiritual people that work like I do, they're like, but you can connect to them, so you don't grieve, do you?
Mm-hmm.
We all grieve loss because there's a physical presence that we don't have, and it's painful, it's excruciating, and especially also when we're so used to feel energy, we're so used to feel them. No matter where I was in the world, I could feel my grandmother's physical presence. And so when it suddenly goes to the spirit world, it's like my energy is looking for it. So both my
Mm-hmm.
energetic being and my human being is looking for my friends and my grandmother. I'm literally just craving that feeling. And I guess everybody in grief would understand that feeling. But the fact that I practiced it and I keep being disciplined about it, when I'm in a good place, not in a grieving place, I remind myself to sit down and connect with them and to speak with them and be with them. Because then when grief has the grip on me, it's easier for me to also just speak with them and feel them and be with them. But it's discipline in the good times that helps us in the bad times. So
Mm-hmm.
that that's another trick. It may
Mm-hmm.
be a longer run because we have to be disciplined when things are good. But that's also a
Mm-hmm.
simple thing that I can share, because we think it's in the bad times we just have to reach out, but that's when we don't have the energy for it. But we can tap into the times when we did and when we could. And energy
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, so we will be connected instantly to what we practiced. So we need to understand that with energy, that there time and space, it's an illusion in our human essence, because the energy doesn't know time and space. And it's the same between realms. We are connected. In the second we think of a loved one, we are connected. In the second we connect to a time in our life where we were happy, we can actually connect to those joyful thoughts and emotions, and that can lift us up. And I learned this from my grandmother. She was 96 when she passed. She had a very long life, and I was blessed to have her that many years. But she kept saying to me, "Oh, I have so many memories. I'm spending the day rejoicing in all the good moments I had with all of
Mm-hmm.
you." And I didn't understand actually before she was gone, but now I do. It's like she could rejoice. She was not spiritual the way I say I'm spiritual, but she was able to tap into all of these moments, and that kept her alive, and that kept her joyful. That helped her also in difficult situations. So we need to understand that we're timeless and we're spaceless. We can always tap into, it's a long explanation for saying be disciplined, practice when you're good, and then you can tap
Mm-hmm.
into to things when in the hard times. You can tap into joy, you can tap into healing, you can tap into to the power you once had. And it's the same people that
Mm-hmm.
haven't exercised for many years. The best thing you can do if you want to get back into exercising is actually not thinking, oh no, I'm not in the same shape as I was. It's so hard. Earlier days I could. No, use it the other way around. Ooh, 10 years ago, I could do this, I
Mm-hmm.
could do that. I'm going to into that energy, and I may not be able to do so, but I'm going to remind myself today I'm going to do 3, tomorrow I'm going to do 5, I'm going to do 5 for the whole next week, but in 2 years from now, I'm going to feel how powerful I was, because discipline is what got me to where I was back then. Discipline will get me there again, but tap into what you were capable of doing. That will connect you to even the physical strength that you had. The same with weight loss. Tap into a time in your life where you're happy about yourself. And if you never were happy about weight, then I will encourage you to think about who would you look at and think that would be amazing. Don't get into the illusion that they felt good, because they would have other
Mm-hmm.
issues. But you tap into how amazing it would feel getting closer to that state.
Mm-hmm.
But always connect first, because then you would get to the healthy point where you are meant to be. Because we're never meant to look like other people, or we are never meant to be as in good shape as I was when I was 20. I'm not meant to be that once I turn 60, or I'm not meant that we are not meant to continue a certain state physically, mentally, or anything, but it's tapping into the strength of something instead of the victimhood of something. Very well. There's a lot of
Thank you. Oh, no. So much goodness, so much wisdom. I'm sure the viewers and listeners are going to appreciate it. Well, finally, how can people work with you?
Well, at the moment, my website is under construction, but go to my Instagram, Christel Rosenkilde Christensen. There's a link to a temporary website. So you can just fill in the contact page and say you want to book a session, say you want to book a workshop, have me to come and speak or teach. That's one way. There's also on that website, there's a corporate offer for a summer lift for the mentor beam, but there's also a summer lift for the individuals. So go under programs and you can click, and there you can buy this. It's a 3-week program where you can have a reminder every single day, 3 to 5 minutes on a WhatsApp message, where it's meditation or something I encourage, something I share, tools to uplift ourselves and to be our new selves coming out of the summer. There are my guided meditations, and my book is on that page as well. And I've put it there so that you can just by donation pay for it. So, whatever you think or you feel that you have at the moment, you can just go and download it for free, or go and just pay a little something. It's there. You can choose it as a cup of coffee, 3 cups of coffee, whatever. How else? I'm offering free information and free wisdom sharing on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's all Christel Rosenkilde Christensen. I'm sure you can find it somewhere with Marta. So there is so much free upliftment that you can go to. I don't have them for sales yet, so just look at what I'm showing. These are my cards. So here we go. My guidance cards. So, but I will pull cards from them and share some wisdom. So that's the free ways of working with me. So, but mainly go and write me. We'll find time for a session with you, or for 6 or 8 sessions where it's more transformational programs, or for your company we do workshops. And yeah, there are many ways, but just write me an email. That's the first step.
Cristel, and I'm going to add all of the links to the description of the podcast. I want to say thank you for this beautiful conversation. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, but your beautiful soul and heart. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Marta, and sharing just my truth into your beautiful and important show and your beautiful world where you're helping so many people.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of the viewers and listeners. Goodbye.
Bye.